workout regimen and all that stuff. In Prospect Park, I'm there like Saturdays and Sundays.
What have I been doing?
So if I see you there, I'm gonna throw like a rock at you or something.
Don't throw it too hard.
Yeah. She's a girl. She's a grown-up girl.
Hi, Jim.
Skeeve.
How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you. Skim?
You too, Skim.
Yes.
Skeeve and Skim, you know,
Who started
Skanky.
Skanky
He's
Lee?
Spike Lee's brother. Skanky is our good friend, and his name's Skanky. So I'm Skim, Skeeve. And a shout out to Super Skanky.
This is when we did a movie called Mystery Train. Sarah Driver, she was Scara. Lizzie Bracco was Skizzy.
Okay.
And,
Skim, Skizzy, Scara, Skeeve,
and Joe
Skanky.
Scummer.
Joe Scummer.
Joe Strummer was in it, but he was...
What was Rockets? Scockets?
We didn't really have fun for
Rockets didn't need an extra name.
Rockets,
you know?
Rockets regular. That name
That's
is
enough,
just good
yeah.
enough as it is. I miss Rockets.
Me too. I remember you were a bartender right over there.
No, that was
7B.
Boone. Boone was the bartender
Boone was,
at 7B.
we just hung out there.
I used to work at King Tut's Wawa Hut,
Right,
which is right over there, which is now Niagara.
right.
And I think I met you and Sarah at one of Rockets Regular's Taxi Cabaret. Was it around that time that you met people like John Lurie and Esther Ballant? And man, that time there was like great theater going on. I remember Esther Ballant, she was in Stranded in Paradise. Michael, did you ever see any of Squat Theater?
On 23rd Street.
Back in the day?
That I never did.
They used to perform in this storefront window.
They'd involve the exterior. They'd have a microphone out there too, and sometimes a speaker so they could engage, or they'd go out and start engaging with people passing by. I mean, they were amazing. Once they had dummies with blank faces on a stage sitting there, and they projected Super 8 filmed faces onto them, which were talking.
Right. Boone was one of the
Incredible.
faces. I have his styrofoam face.
But you guys too, you
Boone
know.
and I, that's how you got
saw
to know
a lot of your
me, was through the work that I did with Boone. And
Yeah, that stuff was great. And also, Squat Theater had musical performances there, so they would have Sun Ra play there, or Arto's band DNA would play there. It was amazing.
What made you, I mean, because a lot of your actors in your films are musicians.
You know, it's mostly because I just started making things with my friends, and I knew more people in the music scene.
You must see something in people like with Joe Strummer.
Well, Tom Waits is a
And
great
Tom,
actor.
well, Tom Waits, yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
And Strummer was a very good actor, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just follow instincts and end up
You just like to hang out
working
with musicians more.
more. I just end up more hanging out with them. Nothing against actors. I
always
love
felt like-
actors.
But musicians and actors is not a big transition between the both of them because you're performing in front of people.
Yeah, but it's different. Musicians are a different kind of animal. Breed, I think.
The thing for me, though, is when we were starting out and investigating all these things with each other, people did numerous things.
Right.
Patti Smith is a writer, a photographer, a painter, a songwriter, a musician, you know? So these kind of divisions, well, you can only be one thing,
Right.
never occurred to any of us, really, I don't think, until later when we got sort of channeled toward or identified, you know?
Right. Did you start out as a musician, or did you know that you wanted to do film, but the music and the film always went hand in hand?
Well, I came here as a transfer student to Columbia University, and I was studying literature. And then I got to go to Paris for part of a year as a student. They had a part of the university there. And that's where I got incompletes in all my classes because I ended up at the Cinematheque every day. And I was devouring every kind of movie I could. I practically lived at the Cinematheque. But I've been devouring music since before I was a teenager, you know? So music's like the thing that, I don't know, feeds me the most. I mean, I love cinema because it has everything in it, you know? It's a musical form, it has writing, dialogue, composition, style, photography, architecture, you know? But music, to me, is still the purest thing.
In the last few years, you've, like, taken more of a turn towards music with your own band.
Yeah, I love playing with Squirrel, which is Carter Logan, Shane Stoneback, and Josef Van Vissem, who also is a lutenist as well.
A lutenist, Geo.
Lutenist, you know, have you ever seen a lute? There are many different types.
Is it like a cousin to the flute?
No, it's related to guitars. It's related to the oud. And the Renaissance lute that he plays has 22 strings.
Wow.
So the joke of all lute players is they spend half their life tuning the thing and the other half playing out of tune, you know, which is about right.
22 strings.
Yeah, it's very complicated.
You're also doing a documentary on the Stooges.
Yeah,
right?
almost done. Not the output of Iggy Pop, but
Right.
Iggy and the Stooges. So
Yeah. And you did you made one with Neil Young.
I made a video with them, a music video with Crazy Horse, and I shot a lot of it on Super 8. And Neil loves film and Super 8 and all these forms, so he called me up and said, hey, what would you think about making a film like the way you made that video, just shooting a lot of Super 8 and stuff, and we're going on tour, you could just start shooting. You could make a Crazy Horse film. And I said, well, how long a film are you thinking of? And there was a pause, and he said, hey, man, when I start writing a song, I don't think about how long it's gonna be. I'm just talking about the thing, yeah? We'll just start doing it. I'll pay for it. If it sucks, we'll just put it on a shelf, man, you know. Which was great, because I love Neil Young's mind and his attitude and his approach to expression. And he inducted Tom Waits into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the night before, I got to have dinner with them. And I'm sitting between Tom and Neil that are talking about where ideas for songs come from.
Yeah.
And Tom's talking about fishing in a river and the patience of the act of fishing and what bait and the air temperature and all these things. And Neil's talking about rabbits coming out of a hole. And you gotta wait a long time and the rabbit might not come, but when it does, you gotta be ready to grab the thing and it might get away. And Tom's like, yeah, and Neil, but it was so good listening to them. I wish I could have recorded this, like, rabbits and fish, you know?
It sounds like it could have been, you know,
A
coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah.
How did the coffee and cigarettes come about? Because
Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, so they were doing shorts.
Yeah.
And they said, you want to do a short, it has to be 5 minutes or less. And
Right.
anything you want, hopefully it'll be funny. And I said, oh, yeah. And Roberto Benigni was coming into town, and Stephen Wright was in town, so I got those two. Then I started making more of them. The next one with
Right, then
you
we did
and
one
Sankey.
at the tail end of Mystery Train. I thought it was brilliant. He made a feature film, and then on the last day, you kind of snuck in this short that we did. It was
everyone
nice.
was tired.
I
though.
loved it. It was great.
And then I just did more. I kept making them. It's, you know, pretty silly film. It's just people talking about ridiculous things, you know.
It seemed like at that time, the East Village in the late 70s and 80s, I thought there were like Hollywood movies, or there was the stuff that was happening here, and I thought, wow, the people around here, are they doing this in reaction to what, you know, sort of like how punk music was a reaction to the commercialization of rock? But I don't even know if that was true. Now, when I look back on it, I just think people just wanted to make things. People just wanted to be creative.
And the bands weren't trying to get signed to major
Right.
labels. Some of them
Right.
did, like oddly later. I think a thing that's what's the right word? I love the word amateur because the root of the word is the love of a form. To me, I'm an amateur.
Do you still consider yourself an amateur filmmaker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I love doing it, and I don't do it, I don't know, to make money. I mean, I'm happy if I can make some money sometimes, but, you know. So, yeah, I'm still learning how to do it, too. Every film I make, I'm like, damn, maybe I'll learn some more this time. And, you know, I certainly don't know how to do it yet.
You should look into making a web series.
Yeah, an amateur web series.
show.
This is, we have,
How
well,
about a
we have the
talk
corner, I
show?
think.
Wait, I know, you could just be on a bench somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Mike?
I was just wondering if we could do the whole interview again this way. I missed everything you were saying.
missed everything.
Oh, man.
So much stuff I could have
It's
missed.
like telephone. Well, maybe what you heard was more interesting.